Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. James chapter 4, verse 15. The opening word, instead, connects this verse to verse 13. So he's saying, instead of saying, today or tomorrow we will go into such and such a town and spend a year there and trade and make a profit, you have to say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. It is a conditional clause. It is not enough to just recognize that one's own life is fragile, as we saw in the previous verse. It is still not acknowledging God. What we need to do is to admit that our lives are in the hands of God, and that our plans must also be subject to the same condition if the Lord wills. This expression of dependence on the Lord is widespread in the New Testament. For example, we see that in the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6:10. And in Matthew 26:42, in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus himself exhibited that submission to the Lord's will before his betrayal and arrest. And in Acts 18:21 and Romans 1:10, we see Paul expressing his submission to the Lord's will in his plans for missionary work. This doesn't mean Jesus, Paul, and the other apostles always verbally state this condition when they plan for the future. If the Lord wills is not a magic phrase. What was important is not the verbalization, but that they had it as a principle fixed in their minds, that they would always abide by the Lord's will. If the Lord wills can merely become some formula repeating it without any real meaning. We may repeat, but it is the attitude with which we view all of life and planning from a biblical perspective. If this kind of plan is in accordance with the Lord's will expressed in Scripture for His people. Have a blessed day.